Okay, so the fish tank is ready. It's been water tested and it's been cleaned and it's actually ready to be scaped. Finally the day has come. I've been waiting, I think, for a couple of weeks. In the previous video I said that I'm going to cover this previously ugly looking stand with some styrofoam panels which I ordered on Amazon, and I've done it, and actually looks really good. It looks like it's real wood, although it's not. It's just a styrofoam, but it has a very natural looking side. So I just basically glued it with a regular silicone, not aquarium silicone, but just a regular silicone. I didn't have enough panels for the doors and for the sides of this stand, so I still have to, well, I ordered more, so I have to wait until they arrive, until I cover all of this stand with these panels, and they look actually quite great, and the tank itself also looks quite great. And if you're wondering, this is not some sort of a fancy aquascaper tank. It's a custom made glass tank. It's made from 10 millimeter ultra clear glass. It's made by some company in England. I don't think they've made it very well, actually. You can see this sloppy silicone work all over the place, and yeah, they also added this horrible looking braces, and I asked them to add as few braces as possible, but this is a definition of few braces, so quite a lot of braces. I guess, yeah, that's what it is, but that's the only manufacturer who could basically produce a tank of these dimensions for a reasonable price, because it was quite cheap when I ordered it. Yeah, I wasn't willing to pay a fortune for a tank, custom made tank of these dimensions, so that was my only option. And I think the tank is quite okay once it will be scaped, and once I'll add water and fish, and this is probably not going to be too noticeable. Alright, so the plan is to scape it today, or at least to add hardscape, driftwood and substrate, maybe also fill it with water. You are probably wondering what kind of setup I'm going to create here, and when you normally see this kind of shallow, long and wide tank, you would think about some sort of a fast flowing stream setup or something like that, with large rocks and a lot of flow. But yeah, not this time. What I want to make here is actually quite the opposite of a fast flowing stream biotope. I want to create here this sort of a shallow, sluggish and quite slow moving black water biotope, potentially imitating Rio Negro streams and shallows, drainages, because all of the fish that I will have in this setup will be from Rio Negro in the Amazon, and I've done Rio Negro black water biotopes before, so this time I'm going to create a Rio Negro biotope on a larger scale with a wider variety of fish and plants. So the idea is to create some sort of a coastal area in here using hardscape, driftwood mostly, with a few emerging riparian plants. I have here a selection of riparian plants: ficus, pomila, creeping fig, a fern, Boston fern, pothos. I have more plants in here in this plant farm that I've been having for quite some time. And I also have a selection of aquatic plants, dwarf such, and two species of echinodorus. They also grow in a kind of immersed condition in here. I'm going to show you later what's happening inside of this plastic container. So the idea is to create this kind of a coastal area with riparian plants, which will harmoniously merge into this underwater section, which will have aquatic plants. Also lots of various botanicals. I have been collecting botanicals, various botanicals, including some tropical botanicals, for quite some time. Lots of various botanicals, smaller pieces, finer pieces of driftwood, all sort of twigs and branches and things like that, and eventually it will kind of gradually recede into this deeper areas of the stream where there will be not so much structure. I would say there would be less botanicals left, no driftwood in here, and just kind of an open swimming space, allowing the fish, mostly shoaling and schooling fish that I will keep in here, some space to swim around. So this is a plan and this is a strategy, and let's get started. The initial stage of scaping is over. Of course, I will be adding a lot more details, all sort of branches, twigs, botanicals at later stages. But now what we have is a kind of the main hardscape. So I've used much of the driftwood that I've planned to add in here. So that's a mixture of oak wood, which is on the bottom, and they're quite large and heavy, so I've put them on the bottom. On top of oak wood I have a collection of mopani and redwood. Over here I have this beautiful log cave that's actually made up of a real piece of bogwood, and I bought it in a terrarium shop, and one of the subscribers suggested attaching siliconing it to a piece of rock, which I've done. Thank you very much. I siliconed it to a piece of slate rock. Actually, I tried to waterlog this piece of driftwood for quite a long time, but it's really kind of a hollow and really porous, so there was no point of doing that because it was just not soaking. On some of these pieces of driftwood I have Java moss growing. Well, it's not Java moss, it's a Brazilian moss, it's a tropical Brazilian moss, or Christmas moss. So it grows in here because it used to be in that tank with fish, so I will try to keep it in this position. Some of these pieces of bogwood obviously have not been in water, so they are kind of a brighter, and the ones that I've taken from the tank, they're darker, but eventually once all of them underwater they will be more or less the same color. So I've added aquatic compost. It's actually a pond compost, but I think it will be great for aquatic plants as well as a nutritious layer. I've added them in mesh bags, and I placed them around the areas where I potentially expect the aquatic plants to grow. So they're kind of only in this area. I will get them now covered with sand. Underneath some of the larger pieces of driftwood I added lava rock, but because I didn't want to put lava rock just on glass, on aquarium glass, it often gets shifted around, and I don't want it to damage the aquarium glass, so I put it on some filter floss. And lava rock is great, it will provide some extra filtration. Some of these pieces of bogwood I placed on top of old Eheim filter dividers. This kind of things which I have from old Eheim filters, and probably you also have them. They're quite great for balancing large pieces of driftwood. I know some people use egg crate, but I don't have egg crate, so that's a decent replacement. Of course, I will not buy this as a new spare part just for that purpose, but I've used it because I have it. So the next stage is to add sand, and now we're going to see whether we have enough sand actually. Okay, so the sand has been added. I added about 25 kg of sand. This is a natural color filter pool sand because it's cheaper than aquarium sand. It's actually no different from aquarium sand, and as I've noticed it's actually cleaner than a lot of specialized aquarium sands because it doesn't have much dust on it. And yeah, so the next step will be planting this setup, which I will do in the next video. And I know that some people actually like planting before filling water, but I actually prefer doing it the other way around. And the reason being is that, well, there are a few reasons why I first add water and then I plant the fish tank, adding both aquatic plants and riparian plants. The main reason is that because when you add water, there can be quite a bit of dust on the sand, and this dust will settle down on the plants, and that will create quite a bit of mess. But in this case I will fill it up, and I will add a canister filter tomorrow. I will install a canister filter in here, and it will filter all the dust out, so even before the plants enter the system, so that there will be no dust. The other reason is that normally when I fill up a tank, some of the hardscape, some of the driftwood starts shifting around, because some of these pieces of driftwood they haven't been in the water, so I don't know how they're going to behave. They might move around. I hope they don't, but we'll see what happens. So that's another reason why I don't want to plant this tank before adding water. And lastly, the other important reason is, yeah, I've added pipe work from Fluval. So normally when I set up a filter, it will create flow, and the flow will shift the plants around, and it will kind of affect the way they will grow, and some of the plants will be blown away. So I want to figure out how the flow will work and in which direction it will actually flow before adding the plants. Yeah, so basically I'm adding a water through this hose connected to my HMA filter in the kitchen. And it's quite a long hose, and I'm using HMA filter at a relatively low pressure, so it's filling up really slowly. Yes, and actually it's good that it's filling up slowly, so it doesn't stir the substrate, it doesn't create any mess. Yes, also it's actually connected to cold tap water, so the water comes out cold, but surprisingly our cold tap water is at about 19 degrees Celsius, so it's not really cold. But nevertheless, I would prefer to fill it up, add a heater, and bring it to, let's say, 25 degrees Celsius before I add plants, because all of my plants they are in warmer environments, and I don't really want them to go through the shock. So that's the reasons why I'm filling this tank up before planting it. But planting is the next stage. I will add aquatic plants in this area, and I will add riparian plants to this upper structures. So I hope you like this video, and hope you're waiting for the next stage as much as I do, and yeah, I'll see you soon.